Hey, Light Up, what's up? That's awesome. You're like the first one in here. I didn't even know if anybody was going to catch this again tonight. What are you up to tonight? Look at that. The 1-2 punch. Pennsylvania in the house. What's going up, guys? Neo Severa, look at this. All people I know. That's why I do this. I love it. Everybody that pops in is people that I know. And man, Neo, you've been busy over on your channel as well, working on the high-low stuff. Good work on that. I'm not sure, what state are you from, Neo? True Sinister, another regular. This is great. I love it. I can just like pop on here randomly at 10 o'clock on a Friday night and all these people show up. Keith Courage, what's going on, man? Yeah, suicide battery education. I mean, I guess so. It was kind of just a quick video just to kind of show people. It's actually like more or less just showing off that Hako desoldering gun. I was really impressed with that. What's up, Brandon? Good to see you. Ryan Chen from Philadelphia too. There's a lot of Pennsylvania people in the house already. This has been a good go of it. Yeah, the suicide battery stuff. I mean, that was something I had to do anyway. Obviously, that Infinikey that I showed is the way to go on that, but I don't know. I just didn't feel like dropping $20 on it. Indiana in the house. Hey, Kron, good to see you. Yeah. I mean, I never really got into picking up a whole bunch of CPS2 boards either. I mean, I have obviously the X-Men one that I showed, X-Men versus Street Fighter from the cabinet, but I don't. I had the Vampire Darkstalkers board, and I think that's about it. And then I just picked up a dead board for the Darksoft multi. South Korea, Zion. I know you're another one. I think you're military, right, man? All the way over in South Korea. Good to see you again. No, the CPS one doesn't have a suicide battery, but I know the whole. I know those boards are really temperamental. The C board, that last board that's on top of the stack, often goes. There's been a few people that have talked about those going. I had one of those go bad on a final fight board. I posted just a couple weeks ago, somebody was selling a whole bunch of those C boards for the CPS1 stacks. I think they're even like new old stock, but there's a Darksoft multi coming up for the CPS1, and I think that's kind of prompting a lot of this. People are trying to get ready for when that happens. The question from Neo, where did I come up with Scarlet Sprites? That's funny. I mean, I really was just trying to get like a channel off the ground, and I was like stuck on the name forever, just trying to figure out what I wanted to call the channel. And I wanted something that alliterated and was easy to say and just kind of like people would remember. The the Flash is my favorite superhero, who is also known as the Scarlet Speedster, but that doesn't really work for video games. But Sprites does, and Scarlet Sprites alliterates, so it just kind of all came together. It's probably not a great story. It was like a 20-minute decision at the end of a night when I was like, I just need to start this channel and just go. So that's how I came up with that. How have I been doing in the States with the family? Not too bad overall. I mean, I think Lily's probably doing worse than I am, just from wanting to get out and do things and concerts and things like that. I think she misses. I'm more of your introvert, despite what you guys might think. I'm perfectly happy in the house, playing arcade games and video games and working on videos and just watching TV and doing my own thing. So I'm fine. Lily's the one who I kind of feel bad for, trying to find things to do and things for us to do together. What CPS2 boards would I actually buy if I had the opportunity? That's a good one. I actually asked somebody in the comments today mentioned that they had a really healthy collection of CPS2 boards, and I was asking like what they had in their collection that they really liked. I think Super Street Fighter 2 X was the one that they called out as their favorite. I like Mars Matrix. I think I would probably want that if I was gonna circle back and start collecting CPS2 boards, which I'm not going to. I'm not going to go down that path. It's actually, the Darksoft kit. That's one of the things that's really nice about it. Not only do you get all the games running on original hardware, but you don't have to swap out the boards on the arcade machine. You can just plug that in, and then there's an LCD selector that I think I've shown before that you just go through and you flash the memory on that Darksoft, and then it runs. So you don't have to swap out games and boards, and it's just super convenient. Kron said he picked up one of those C boards. You don't even have a use for it yet. Well, hang in there. I'm sure you'll find something. Yeah, True Sinister. Yeah, everything in the. Yeah, I mean, I wish it was a better story. I wish it was a better story than what I explained. Oh yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. There's two Dungeons and Dragons games on CPS2. Both of those are pretty good. I like both of those. Those would be cool to pick up. When is CPS2 coming to Mister? You guys would have to tell me that. I don't have a Mister. We went through this the last time I streamed. I don't have it. Obviously, there's that whole JAMA edge that's coming out for it that will make that a little bit more exciting for me anyways. I know it's a pretty cool product as it is, but yeah, that whole JAMA edge is something that really interests me for arcade use. So I don't really know. I haven't really kept up with the cores. I mean, I see Smoke Monster post stuff. I follow him and like to see what he's posting, and then some of the developers that he follows, and he'll retweet. That's how I get my news. So between that on the Twitter feed and you guys, that's how I'm getting my Mister updates. On the fence about selling your Sega Aero City cabinet. Man, I don't know. That's tough. I mean, that's one of those things that people will ask me from time to time about. Somebody again today was asking me about actually the Hako desoldering gun. Should they get that? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I like it. Do you have a use for it? Same thing with like your Aero City. Like, how hard is it going to be to pick that up again if you want to go out and find another Aero City here in Pennsylvania? I mean, if I sell my Astro City or my Blast City, that's gone. Like, I'm not going to just go find another one of those. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to have to probably have something shipped, so I'm going to hold on to that. But again, everybody's situation, they're so different. I don't know what you got going on in your life. A lot of people are having babies right now, and finances can get tight. So, you might want to hold on to that, or maybe if you don't play it that much, it's just worth it to get rid of it. So. Oh man, True Sinister coming through again. Thanks, man. He's donating to that Mr. JAMA Edge fund that we got going. And your comment says it's ironic how Super Turbo appears to be so popular today, but I remember it being far less commercially successful in previous installments. Yeah, it's funny. I'm wearing the Uplink shirt, and Rayan Ali and I were talking about that on the panel during Uplink, and that's not a plug. The convention's over, but you should come next year. But we were talking about that with the iterations of NBA Jam, and why did Hang Time not see a lot of love, and Showtime probably even a little less so. I love Showtime. But I think Street Fighter was kind of the same thing at the time, if you think about it. Like, now you can look back and reflect on those games, and what the penultimate version was for you of that series and the different iterations. For me, it's always been Champion Edition because that's the one I played the most, and that's coming to my answer here. I kind of tired of the game. I mean, I played Champion Edition, and then it got to the point where it's like, okay, now it's Turbo. All right, that's kind of cool. Like, I get it. We've got some different colors and animations, and you know, obviously some different moves for different characters and the speed. And then it's like, well, here's Super, and it's like 4 more characters, and none of those. I'll say this: none of those 4 characters do I really care about. And then it's like Super Turbo, and it's just like, now looking back on it, it's like, okay, that's like the final cut of the game. But back then, it's like people are starting to get Street Fighter fatigue just because it had been in the arcades for so long. I think people wanted Street Fighter 3 to come out. I think people were waiting on that. The Alpha series was kind of like in bloom, and I think people just kind of got tired of it, to be honest. I mean, that would be my only thought on the matter. Just fatigue in general. Destiny FOMO. I can't thank you enough. Destiny always comes and hits the chat up when she's around. I appreciate that, Destiny. Definitely check out her page, her Twitter. Follow her. She's got some good stuff going on. I know, we were just talking about CPS2. Destiny's got that CPS2 with the Darksoft kit and the HDMI mod on it, which is really sweet. Ken's my favorite character too in the Street Fighter series. I always play as Ken. I made a go of trying to get myself good at playing as Balrog, or M. Bison in Japan, but I just thought it'd be cool. Like, I'm going to be the boxer. I'm going to be the guy that can wield him. And I was just never good at it. I tried and I made it, and I just went back to Ken eventually because I just wasn't good at it. Yeah, Destiny's saying, yeah, Alpha 02 is your favorite. That's interesting. I kind of skipped over the Alpha series there for a while. And I didn't really, I mean, I saw the first one in the arcade. I was intrigued. I liked the art style on it. Didn't play it a whole lot. But then when 03 came out for PlayStation, I'll never forget that. I'll just come clean. I was in college in 98 and I wasn't buying a whole lot of games. I was actually modding a lot of PlayStations for people in college. And I had an FTP server. Some of you probably know what that is. And somebody dumped 03 on my FTP server the night it came out in Japan. So this game wasn't even out in the US, and somebody dumped the game to the FTP server. I burned a copy, played it a little bit that night, and then packed and I went home because I remember it was December, it was holiday break, and I played 03 basically all of the holidays that year, 98 into 99. Somebody can fact check that. I am pretty certain that was December of 98 that came out. Linda the gamer girl, also stopping by. Good to see you, Linda. Too bad we didn't get to meet up at the Too Many Games Con this year. A couple of people in the chat here. Pabst and Light Up too. I know we're at Too Many Games last year and just was a no-go, unfortunately, this year. Yeah, Dreamcast was also big. That was kind of towards the end of, that was 99, so that was a year after the whole 03 thing for me. But I did transition over to Dreamcast and was picking up a lot of Dreamcast images. I think the group was Echelon, if I remember, who was releasing everything. And I remember they got pissed off because people were not grateful or something, and they decided they were going to spite everybody and say they were. I remember that from one of the info files. They're like, oh yeah, we're playing UFC right now. We're going to enjoy that since you people are ungrateful. I don't even remember what the whole drama was about that, but I remember just like even then that seemed funny to me. Quesadilla Padilla, what's up, man? Welcome. Yeah, you graduated in 2000. I graduated in 2002 from college, Neo. Yeah. Oh, you're trying to pull. I see SK is trying to pull setup together for Naomi. There was somebody that was selling. I was shocked actually, just in the past few years, how much that has gone up in price. I mean, I know everything is going up in price, but the Naomi NetBoot kit that I have on the Blast City downstairs, somebody sold a. I think it sold. It was on the Killer List of Video Games forum, Clav, and somebody had a whole setup there. I think it was like 750, and I was like, holy shit! Like, I can't believe how much that has gone up in price for and it's sold. Yeah, Destiny remembers Echelon was the ripping group. That's right. I actually still have. I was archiving that stuff back in the day. I have burned CDRs with the original rare files for Echelon on it with the. I don't even know if I should be admitting that. I mean, sure, statute of limitations has run out. But yeah, when I was running that server, so I was archiving all that stuff. There's a spindles of discs in the basement that have all that shit on it, and I should probably just get rid of it. It's not doing me any good. I don't really need it. I mean, look at us now. We're doing we've got the mode and all that kind of stuff. Nobody's burning CDs anymore. Not, I mean, I guess I am still for my Panasonic 3DO. There's an optical drive emulator for the 3DO, but it was, the last time I looked, it was outrageously expensive, and I ended up just fixing the drive myself. I think it was an Apple CD drive I took apart. It's a Matsushita. I can't remember the model. I want to say it's a 563. I took apart, and it was a drop-in replacement for the 3DO. But yeah, I don't think too many people are burning CDs. Maybe some people are. Beast, look at this. See, this is my these are my people. Got Destiny and Beast always supporting whenever I'm doing anything on here live. And I don't even stream games. I just get on here and talk to you guys. But yeah, they always show up. I love you guys. I really do. I mean that. I hope that someday we get to meet up in person somewhere at one of these cons, maybe Uplink next year for real if we have it, or somewhere else. But I love you guys. I want to say that. MC Murr in the house too. 3DO, Star Control 2. Yeah, I don't know. That was another question somebody else asked me. Should I buy a 3DO now? And man, I don't know. If you're a hardcore hardware collector, maybe. I don't know. You're certainly not buying it for the games, at least in my opinion. You're talking to a guy who has owned the 3DO since shortly after it came out. I told that story, I think, last time. We won't go through that again, but there's just not a ton of great games on it. I mean, you could get it and then, put the optical drive emulator into the 3DO and rip through the library, but you might honestly be pretty disappointed. I don't know that there's a ton of great games. Star Control 2, that Murr's calling out, obviously one of the better ones. Captain Quasar, Return Fire is pretty good. Maybe the best version. Somebody will probably call me out in the chat for this, but at the time anyway, it was the best version of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Samurai Showdown, I posted that not too long ago, I think, on Instagram. It's a pretty good version of the game. There's some scaling issues. The load times are horrendous on it. Not horrendous, but they're not good by today's standards. And I mean, we kind of looked past it back then. But yeah, I mean, it's okay if you really want to try it out. I'm not going to stop you. Beast got gifted a 3DO. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, so I don't have the RGB mod on mine. I don't have, mine has nothing other than the drop-in CD drive that I put in it. Yeah, I'm trying to look over my shoulder here. I have Gex as well. Actually, Gex is what was playing in my 3DO when the drive started making awful, like, vacuum cleaner-like sounds, and then it just completely went out on me. Siberia, I got Demolition Man back there, FIFA, Foes of Ali, oh, Madden. That was a treat, seeing Madden for the first time, like on a system like the 3DO. The Return Fire and Return Fire add-on disc. You guys can probably see a little, well, maybe not, but you can see a little bit of the collection here, and this extends. Space Pirates, Total Eclipse, Way of the Warrior. I mean, that's a terrible game. I saw AVGN just did Mortal Kombat ripoff games. I was waiting to see if Way of the Warrior cracked that. There's another game that is probably worse than Way of the Warrior. The name is escaping me right now, but he covered that one instead. It's real bad. Yeah, Madden 3DO was passable. I do not have Doom or Road Rash True Sinister, and I can tell you why. One of my friends was working at Best, not Best Buy, Best, way back in the day, and got an employee discount, and he bought his 3DO through Best, and he had the games that I didn't, and so we would just swap because we were like the only two people that had 3DOs at the time. And so at some point when we were in college, he sold all of that. And I was like, oh, why didn't you tell me you were getting rid of all that? Because now I don't have Road Rash. I don't have Doom. He actually had Plumbers Don't Wear Ties as well, if anybody remembers or looks that game up. It's just it's a terrible game. I mean, it's not even really a game in a sense. It's like a choose your own adventure, but it's a softcore porn. It's not good. It's not good from, it's not even good porn. I'll just say it. It's not good porn. It's not a good game. There's nothing redeeming about it other than now it's worth, I don't know, you guys can look it up on eBay, but I think it's worth a fair amount of money. And I think he sold all his stuff for like $50, the console, all the games. So if somebody still has that, they got a hell of a deal at the time. Shadow War of Succession, Pondering Ghost jumps in. Oh, Callisto. Destiny comes back with Callisto. I do remember Callisto. You're right. That's another good one. I forgot all about that until you just mentioned that. I got to go back through those discs. It's so weird because I'll throw those discs in that have the archives on them from Dreamcast games and even some PC games and stuff that I was playing at the time. And I don't even want to play the games. I just want to see like who the release groups were and look through the info. And then sometimes, they'll list out who the Ripper was, and they'll have like somebody's like screen name. And we're talking like late 90s, Dreamcast, obviously 99-ish, but I think that was hacked. Not, it was later than when those started coming out. So maybe 2000, early 2000s. But yeah, it's crazy. Like looking back through some of that stuff. It's bad porn without the porn part. Yeah, it's exactly right. There's some other games too that I remember he thought like he was such a badass when he bought that too. And we might have. I'm trying to think. We were still in high school. And I remember he brought that home from Best, and we had like a whole bunch of guys from like high school like showed up at his house that night to like watch and play this Plumbers Don't Wear Ties game. And I think even as like horny teenagers, we were all like severely disappointed by how bad that was. It's like, this isn't even worth it. Can we just like turn on Super Nintendo at this point? And there was another one. I think it's called Snow Job, which obviously, they're trying to do there. That's another one that I think he had. I think that's probably worth something too. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, there are weird menus, and then there's that person at the beginning of the game that always says, she's like, don't keep me in suspense, give me the full story. And it's the voice acting is so terrible in that game. BMX Triple X on the OG Xbox, the first console game I had that had actual nudity in it. Yeah, I never played that, but I'll take, obviously I'm taking your word for it, but yeah, I don't really have any frame of reference for that one. I don't know. Hey Mert, hi from Turkey. I always love like how international this ends up, like people from all over the world. I think that's the awesome thing about Neo Geo in particular, and the people that come to the channel, how many different people from around different countries that show up and to want to talk about Neo Geo. There was a comment today on one of the videos I have, and I was calling out, I think it was Street Slam, and I had heard this before. I called it out as like an underrated game from that John Riggs initially didn't have on his list. I just kind of did like an additional video to kind of tag on to something that he did. And I had somebody from England, I think, say like, "What are you, crazy? Like Street Slam's huge. Like that's all anyone was playing in the pubs." And that was really surprised me because I mean, obviously growing up in the U.S. and in the U.S. arcades, I didn't know that. And so somebody again today mentioned that Street Slam was huge, and they were from Italy. But I mean, you guys maybe can, if you're from the U.S., vouch. I don't remember anybody really playing or talking about Street Slam then. And even now, when that game comes up, people will be like, "Oh, I didn't know there was a basketball game for Neo Geo." So it does seem to be, maybe it's a little bit more of a European thing, and that was more popular over there. But people weren't really playing Street Slam, at least where I lived back in the day. And Algeria, see, this is what I'm saying. The pubs, yeah, the pubs. Yeah, I didn't even have a pub. We have bars here. Yeah, I don't remember it either. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, everybody ignored Street Slam because it was seen like a bad NBA Jam clone. Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. It's kind of it. That is kind of what it is. So, yeah, if you had the option and people are playing NBA Jam, they're not playing Street Slam. Yeah, I never I know I don't think I ever played it in the arcade back then. There's very there's a lot of, I mean, there's a pretty healthy history of games that I can recall playing on the Neo Geo in the actual arcade, because I would go to that cabinet and I would look to see like what games were in the marquee, and that didn't matter if I was in locally here in like Harrisburg Hershey area, or if I was at the beach, or I would go out to California to visit my family out there, and I would try to go. I mean, I remember playing in arcades out there and having my mind blown about some of the different things that I saw out there versus that was in here on the East Coast. I just don't ever remember playing Street Slam. So, I mean, that certainly could be one of those things that's just me. I missed it. But I don't remember there being like a crowd of people around playing that game the way some people have told me happened back in the day in Europe. Yeah, see, Mohammed's weighing in saying we played a lot of street hoops in Algeria. See, it's definitely just something that didn't hit in the States. I mean, in my mind, that's kind of what's going on. It seems like it was more popular elsewhere. Destiny, what kind of offer are you making on the now complete MVS collection? I mean, if you got a checkbook ready, I mean, I might listen. I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know. More seriously, I don't know. That's something, would I ever consider selling it for the right price? It kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, like people's financial situations. And, Lily's not pregnant, so I don't have a baby on the way. I don't have thing like that happening. So I don't, thankfully, I think, at least as far as I know, we're both pretty healthy. Don't have any medical expenses or anything like that. So I don't really have any reason to try to sell my set. I could see that being something, you know, 10, 15 years from now, getting older, maybe not playing stuff as much, maybe starting to wind down and looking at different carts to try to unload. And maybe, and it's one of those things where I don't want to like cling to it forever to the point where, it's getting dark here, but like if I pass away, like somebody's got to deal with that and then unload it for, they don't know anything about it and they got to try to figure all that out. So, I don't know. I don't have any plans to sell it anytime soon. We're at least 10 years out from all that. Retire on that MVS collection. Yeah. I mean, if only, that'd be amazing. Hurry up and work on the baby so that you can buy the set. Yeah, I'll get right on that. Arcade franchise in Cincinnati, 3 locations to barely hold. Is that current? You've gone from 3 to 1. Like, is that because of? I might be behind on the chat. Is that because of the whole pandemic and having to be closed? 8 big kids from Australia. There we go. More worldly visitors to the Scarlet Sprites channel. Yeah, True Sinister. I've just never seen it. I mean, I just haven't really seen it either. I mean, obviously I see it now because but not back in the day. Yeah, man, AES collections. That's I can't even imagine having the foresight to have assembled a complete AES collection right now. That's just insane. Yeah, Gorilla Jones, you're definitely right. You're talking about the arcade scene being something as it was your social media at the time. You're absolutely right about that. It was definitely a place to go. We kind of talked about this before, where you're kind of all engrossed, enveloped. Everybody's doing the same thing in that arcade, and then you're watching other people play. You're having conversations. It's also one of the things, and maybe you can vouch for this too. It's one of those things where I mean, I grew up in a time, high school rivals and sports and just teenager bullshit from time to time, just you're better than that school or whatever. But going to that arcade, there was some bragging rights along with your school, as if it was some kind of like school sport. But you also made friends that way from other locations and other school districts and stuff because there's only a handful of arcades in the area and everybody kind of converged at one or the other. And so if you weren't being a complete a-hole at the arcade, you could actually meet people who had similar interests and partner up for a game of NBA Jam with somebody that you didn't know and just talk to them. And it was definitely a social scene. As awkward as gamers can be at times, I really enjoyed that back in the day. I kind of miss that. It's interesting because in some ways I feel like there's definitely exceptions to this, and maybe I'm looking at the negative, but in some ways I feel like at least early on with online gaming, it was almost the opposite. It was a lot of like bickering and people complaining and people yelling at each other and slurs. And I really got turned off to online gaming because of a lot of that. And it was so different from what happened when you were in an arcade. And of course, that goes back to accountability. When you're online, nobody has to be accountable. No, there's not even a face with the stuff that people are spewing sometimes online. If you said that at an arcade, you get your face punched in, to the wrong person. So there's just no accountability. So yeah, I do miss that aspect of arcades. And Destiny's talking about complete AES collection. If you start that, Destiny, I mean, I'm gonna get word out that you're completing a full AES set for your channel. That would, I mean, I did the MVS countdown, which I actually still have 2 videos that I'm working on to finish that off for the channel. But I'm gonna spread word that you're starting an AES countdown over on your channel. Oh yeah, fights in the parking lot. Oh, for sure. There for sure were fights in the parking lot. Yeah, I mean, especially like the later it got at the arcade, nerds battling it out. I like that. One of the arcades locally was just a few feet away from the movie theater, so we'd usually go to the arcade first, spend some money there, and then go to see whatever movie was happening that Friday night. And because of both of those things being like right there, you had people that really weren't into games but were into causing trouble would show up and just wander into the arcade. They weren't there to play games. They'd come and linger because of everybody going in and out of the movies, and then you'd have some kind of like I was talking about, high school rivalry shit going on in the parking lot that I never got involved in any of that, of course. But Ah, Destiny, you're definitely gonna do it. I'm gonna start that rumor. Yeah, Oasis is talking about mics ruining things online. That's one of the things that I think I was probably in the minority on as far as the Wii U goes for online stuff. When Splatoon came out, I love that game. I like playing it with 3 minute matches. You're in, you're out. Very arcade like from that aspect, and no microphones. And so you're not at any type of disadvantage by not being, connected and having a headset on. Because that's one of the things, like, for Halo, sometimes I would just take the mic off my face, and I wouldn't even play with any of that on. But then you're at a disadvantage, if you're working with teammates and the other team's collaborating or whatever. But I just, there's just some nights I'm like, I'm not listening to all this garbage online and people, calling each other like nasty thing. I'm not listening to it like tonight. But for Splatoon, nobody had it. It just wasn't a reality. It was something that Nintendo nixed and didn't want to deal with. So I wasn't at any disadvantage, and I didn't have to listen to it. So that was something I actually really enjoyed. Oh God, drive-bys. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, we didn't. Thankfully, in South Central Pennsylvania, we didn't have. Well, there was one guy that when I was in middle school, he was shot from a drug related, um, you know, crime, and that was pretty tragic and shocking for us because that kind of thing didn't happen a whole lot around here. But yeah, thankfully we did not have to deal with drive-bys or anything like that. I mean, that's yeah, southern LA, I can imagine. Yeah, if you're with your friends, it's a totally different experience. You're right. Like if you had people that you knew or they were genuine friends that you got online with, then it's a completely different story. And that's, you're right. You could collaborate and take on other teams pretty easily. But um, yeah, it's just one of those things that I don't know. I never had people who were into online gaming that much. And I was working. I think I shared this before. I was working an odd shift at the time, so I would get home usually like 8:30 ish when Halo was pretty popular. I'd make dinner. I was living by myself, one bedroom apartment, all that kind of stuff, and um, yeah, I would get on probably and start playing like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and play till like 3 in the morning. But like none of my friends like are that they're working like different hours and stuff, so nobody was, even if I did have people, they probably weren't available. Yeah, that's awesome. You had high school and college. You had a game room with consoles set up and everyone playing. We had a Killer Instinct cab at college, and there was a pinball machine. I can't remember what it was. It might have been. It might have been Adam's Family, but that's all we had in the basement of the one building. We didn't really have, everything else was just meeting up with other guys and playing games in rooms and stuff. We didn't really have a dedicated like common area or anything that was provided by the school other than Killer Instinct and that Adams Family pinball machine. Yeah, Blizzard games, Diablo, StarCraft, and World of Warcraft. Yeah, that man, that was my roommate in college played StarCraft like I was unbelievable, and I tried to get into that. I'm not much for like the real time strategy or point and click type stuff. It just doesn't. I don't know. I tried several times, especially given how into it he was. I tried to like get involved so I could play him, and I thought, well, it should be something that's in my wheelhouse, but I just never connected on that level with those types of games. we did play a hell of a lot of Rogue Spear, which is a sequel to Rainbow Six. And that was the first time I remember just really like everybody's dorm room doors were open. I had the disc that I bought, and then there was a no CD patched executable, and I mean, I just circulated that to everybody. I mean, all kinds of piracy stuff here tonight, but I just circulated that to everybody. Installed Rogue Spear, and we just had the doors open. Everybody's just yelling, and that was a little bit more exciting to me, like planning. Hostage rescues and everybody. That was like the first time I remember like having that many people involved in a game, and you're all on the same team, which was also nice. It wasn't like this big competitive thing. It was a collaboration. And I love that about that game and just playing that with friends. Yeah, the attract mode on Killer Instinct. You're right. I do remember that. That was the basement of the building that was in had a small cafeteria, and I remember just like sitting out there eating like whatever kind of terrible food it was that I would randomly get, because it was more of like an after hours type place to eat at college. And you're right, that attract mode on Killer Instinct, it's like burned into my mind, probably because of how many like damn cheeseburgers I ate like sitting in the basement of that building, but also because, as you're saying, it's a yeah, it's an iconic attract mode. Am I one of those guys who downloaded a lot of music and other media? Probably. I mean, I think even then, like I was a little bit, obviously, like I collect shit, like the Neo Geo kind of got out of hand, but yeah, I mean, I downloaded a lot of PlayStation games. I also was like kind of a completionist when it came to music, rather than downloading one song or the single. Like I wanted the whole album, and I'm going to listen to it from top to bottom. And I know a lot of people never really got that, but actually, Lily and I, my wife, you just had that conversation about the lost art of the album, because everything is like single now on iTunes. People go out and buy the single, and like back in the day, like vinyl or even CDs, you would buy the whole thing, and that first song was like always something. It was. I mean, the whole track listing is put together in a particular order, as it's telling a story in some cases, or it's ramping a mood or switching the mood up, and you listen to it from start to finish. And I don't know that that's really a thing as much as it used to be. But I was a big fan of the album experience, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of respect for albums that, from start to finish. Like, yeah, it's hard. That seems to be something that people mastered maybe in like the 70s, maybe. Like, that was like a big deal to choreograph your album and make sure that you had the right feel, the vibe from, and I'm by no means like, any type of musical genius. I mean, I could tell you stories about how some of the grades I got in middle school for music, but I just yeah, it just seems like a lost art, because it's just now it's all about the single, and that's fine. Like you should have fun and just listen to whatever you want to. And obviously, if you're listening to a radio station and it's cycling through songs, or Pandora today or whatever, that's the same type of experience. But buying an album and going start to finish on it, and really starting to appreciate what that album is, and what the artist intended, and how the songs differ from each other, the mood, and I think that's really cool. And I think a lot of times now it's just like a scramble to, get whatever the hit is, or whatever the top of the charts, and you don't really get to hear a lot of, what that artist put on the album as a whole. Oh, Wyclef? Man, that's crazy. We were just talking about Wyclef the other day. Like I listened to a lot of Wyclef in college. Um, yeah, that's funny. Uh, it's fun because I went to school in Long Island for college, and so being from South Central PA and then going to New York and Eastern Long Island, it was just this group of people that all converged like seemingly for the first time. Obviously, the kids from the city that lived in New York City that came out to college there, a little bit of a different experience as far as different cultures and stuff. But for me, it was all new stuff, right? Like and listening to R&B and rap music, and I thankfully had like my one of the guys that lived next door to me. The first guy I ever met at college was from the Dominican Republic. Helped me move in my stuff day one, like seconds after I arrived on campus. And he was at my wedding a few years ago. We've remained good friends. Introduced me to all kinds of music and different types of things, and I thank him for that, and his brother, and and he would talk about different artists and things that I probably wouldn't have listened to, stuff that I wish that he hadn't introduced me to, like Casey and JoJo. That might have been a miss on his part, but yeah, a lot of cool memories. Oh, thanks, John. I appreciate the donation to the Mr. JAMA Fund. So I know if Mike is looking to add smoothing feature to the RetroTink Multi, I'm waiting for that feature before I buy. So I can say, I don't want to speak for Mike Chi, creator of the RetroTink 2X, but I will say I kind of initially I asked him when he sent me the Multi. I wasn't sure because I didn't crack it open right away. I asked him if it was a firmware update, and he said no. He wasn't able to introduce what he wanted to as far as the Multi goes, and the features, the functionality. He wasn't able to get that onto the Pro. It required a full redesign of the board. And along with that, he was saying that some of the stuff had to go. Like it just didn't, I guess, as far as like memory and space and what, some of the, whatever the algorithm, I shouldn't really speak for Mike, but whatever the algorithm is that he puts on there for the smoothing, for the calculation to crank that out, it's just not possible. So it was pretty much, it was that pass through for 480p. And then, you have the bilinear filtering for sharp, which it's a little less sharp than what it is for the Pro, but it's supposedly and I think Bob at Retro RGB did a little bit of a talk on this. The bilinear filtering is better for 3D games, but I don't think that that's coming to the Multi. If you're waiting on smoothing for that, unfortunately. You could probably tweet Mike or ask him, but I suspect that that's not coming. Music peaked for you in the 2000s. Yeah, I don't really listen to a whole lot of new stuff, to be honest, which probably doesn't surprise a bunch of you. It's funny. I do listen to, my wife makes fun of me. I do listen to a lot of EDM. I'm pretty eclectic as far as music goes. Like nothing's off the table. Maybe country. I'm not a big fan of country music, but yeah, nothing's really off the table. I love Dioro. Like I just do. Eric Prydz. I think I talked about that album on a video that failed pretty miserably last year. Music that I listen to when working on arcades and sometimes just playing games. But yeah, I do like EDM music. The last concert I went to before I think everything got locked down, I went to a Crystal Method concert. Not really new, but just kind of touting, a little bit of my diversity in music, if you will. Yeah, I think the RetroTink Multi seems like a niche product. Yeah, I think what Mike was trying to do was just cover everything. And I know a lot of people had asked for that 480p pass through and were kind of not complaining, but saying like, I can run everything I need to off of the Pro, but when it comes to the Wii or the PS2, I can't use 480p, and then I got to unplug things. And And I think what he was trying to do was introduce an option for everybody, and in some cases that may be multiple products, which I know sucks. But he got the RGB SCART connection product. He got the Pro now going, which is probably, I would argue the Pro is probably the best choice for most people. And then you've got the multi that you can use for more of that entry into the 3D area. Ghostface Killer, man, that's an artist I haven't listened to in a long time. Yeah, I agree, Paps. The selling point is really in the simplicity. You turn it on, and you forget about it. There's no configuration of settings or anything like that. It's just, I have mine hooked up on a switch. So you just click the power on, turn the console on, and now that the Pro remembers the last setting, it's always on component for me. That's it. It's click it on, turn the console on, and I'm off and running, and I don't really worry about too much. Yeah, I mean, some older flat panels do have the component connections on them. The one I have here doesn't. The thing I'd be interested in, and I don't know this, but I think some televisions still look at that connection, and I think Mike was saying that not all, but some will look at that component connection and still try to apply some type of deinterlacing to it, and then that's when you get lag introduced to it. I think sets that had component connections later, before that almost like went entirely away, I think got better as far as not trying to process that signal as an interlace signal. But I mean, 480i can still come across the component, and I think TVs don't always do a great job of deciphering. It's just an all or nothing thing, and then that's when you end up with that nasty lag. I'm not sure I'm completely satisfied with RetroTink or OSSC. Um, yeah, I mean, I know. So the OSSC, I don't have one of those, but I guess it's missing like an S video connection. Is that right? Because I think that's kind of the thing with that. Like, I probably don't really have a need for that outside of the 3DO, which I never play. But yeah, I don't know. I could see that being an issue. I know some people use the RetroTink to then feed the OSSC, which again, then you're buying two products. Yeah, the RetroTink SCART to the M Classic. I've heard a couple people talk about that. It's funny, until the RetroTink Pro came out, I really didn't hear people talk about the M Classic, or maybe I saw it and I just didn't pay much attention to it. But more recently, since the Pro came out and people talk about using it in tandem with the M Classic, that's I've looked at it and I think that's pretty cool. Um, the the OSSC doesn't play nice with the MVS, so that's interesting. I know that the MVS outputs a non-traditional frequency for the video signal, and James Whalen, aka JNX, has that. Oh boy, it's slipping my mind, but it's the DFO that he installs on the MVS to kind of standardize that signal and the output. I'm wondering if that works better with the OSSC once that's installed. Retro Ryan, what's up, man? Good to see you. Lily paints trees. Hey, Lily. Lily, I don't know when you joined. Destiny FOMO was asking if I was going to sell my MVS collection. I said, like financially, if, there was a baby or something like that on the way, I might. So she wants us to work on that so that she can buy the MVS collection that's behind me. I think you'd probably be in favor of that, whether or not we had a child or not. just unloading the Neo Geo collection. Yeah, the Mister is really a great product. It seems. I know a lot of people are really big on that. I know Pabst has one of those, and probably a few of you other guys do. It does seem like a really cool thing. I just had a hard time like justifying spending. I mean, it's like what 400 plus for everything when you're said and done. And I had a hard time justifying spending that on the Mister if I couldn't use it in an arcade cabinet, because I want that flexibility to be able to do both with it. Like it'd have to serve two purposes for me to justify that. And at this point, it looks like that might be likely, given some of the recent developments. But definitely seems like an awesome product. A lot of people, seem to be into that. I know a lot of you guys that have them speak very highly of Mister. And I know Pork Chop Express on Twitter seems like a nice guy. Like he's always touting his new products and updates and shipping updates, and he seems like he communicates really well with the fan base out there and the gaming community in general. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I'm interested in once that all gets finalized. Yeah, I remember you saying that, Gorilla Jones. I remember you saying you used to work in the early '90s. You did work. That's really cool. Um, Disassemble each MVS to clean the pins like people do for the NES and SNES carts. Um, no, I mean, it's just a screwdriver really to take the screws off of the back of the case, and then you can kind of gently lift the PCBs out. Most of the pins that are exposed through the bottom of an MVS cart, like you can put deoxit like on a Q-tip and just kind of scrub a little bit. I mean, if you're really anal and you want to take those out and make sure you get all the way up there, you definitely can do that. The reason I was opening stuff for a while there was just to try to avoid bootlegs and make sure there weren't like EPROMs on the cart and stuff. That was really why I was opening them. But definitely you want to keep those things clean, because who knows where they've been. Some of those things that I picked up were absolutely filthy, so you do want to make sure you clean them. But I haven't. I don't know if I'd say I opened up carts specifically just to make sure I'm cleaning the pins on them. Yeah, Enrique, that's a really good point. I actually wanted to do. I was gonna. All week I meant to message Pork Chop Express and I didn't. But that's a really good point. I wonder what happens to the demand for like the Darksoft multi kits once the Mister comes out with the JAMA, because you're right. I'm probably not going to. I'm probably not going to sell like the Darksoft multi for CPS2 or the CPS3 kit that I have. I'm probably not going to sell that stuff, but it does raise an interesting point, like how much development really needs to be done on other things, or does the demand change? I guess there's always a need for it, and there's always people that are going to prefer original boards, original hardware, and running games off of that, even if it's in a modified way, because you see that pushback all the time. And actually, GameSack had just commented on today's video, and he was asking about unaltered code, and just saying how people get their panties in a twist, or altered code, I should say, for like the CPS2 stuff in order to bypass the battery and Phoenix a board. And people are like, it's altered code, I can't play on that. And there's that whole purist standpoint. So I think there'll still be a need for multis and running things on original hardware. There's always going to be people that appreciate that and want that feature. But you're right. I do think once FPGA is streamlined and you got a good coder working on those cores and they become pretty damn accurate, then you start to wonder like what's the point? I can buy this and I can just get new cores. And yeah, I think we'll chip away at that market. I hope that development doesn't completely stop on some of those multis, because there's still some I want to see. I know Darksoft is working on the CPS1 right now, and I think everybody's just kind of waiting on that in the arcade community. And I think that'll be a really big hit. But you're right. Like, if the Mister's out with the JAMA Edge, is there as much of a demand for that product? Is he going to work on that kind of stuff? Are we going to see people work on multi kits? But I don't know. Maybe the positive of that is that you see more coders work on cores, right? So maybe if that becomes more of the go-to product, you'll start to see more cores pop up. There's still a lot of games, arcade games and stuff, that I wouldn't mind seeing pop up on the Mister. And I know obviously that we've got nothing but time at this point, but I think it's easy when I don't want to say it's easy. I'm not coding for it, but I think you get more bang for your buck when you're looking at something like the Neo Geo, because there's so many different carts for that system. CPS2, similar thing. You got your A and B board, so you figure out one of those things, and it's like getting the ROM to the hardware after you've figured out how to get the core in for CPS2 for the A, and then you got all these. It opens a door for all these ROMs, but then you go back a little bit further, and things weren't necessarily that way, and you have these unique boards. Even like the Midway boards I was talking about, those Midway Wolf boards. There's really only like 5 games for that particular hardware. So bang for the buck. I don't know. Do you find people that will work on those, or what about the one-offs where you've got a game that's just on some type of like one-off type of hardware board, and then the company, whoever it is, Data East or whoever, just went on, they make another game and it gets its own thing, and so every one of those individual units has to be redone for the Mister. It opens up it is a very interesting question, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I started wondering that after I saw Porkchop Express put out or talk about having the JAMA Edge for the Mister. I agree. There's always going to be purists who want to play on original. I 100% agree. Yeah, I would love to see some IRAM games pop up on Mister too. IRAM games are ridiculously expensive. I'm trying to think. There was what was the one I was looking at getting, and I just ended. I was like, I forget. I'm not paying that. I can't remember what that board was. But there's definitely some cool IRAM games out there that I definitely would like to pick up. Yeah, I mean, I think FPGA does something. I'm reading Koika's. I'm reading his comment about being a purist and working with Mister and flash carts, and I'm kind of, somebody posted a comment on the CPS3 video that I did a while back and said that they were surprised that I was using the multi-BIOS card and playing games on the CPS3 that way and not using original hardware. And my response to that really is, what I want is the accurate experience. It doesn't necessarily all have to be original hardware, as long as I'm getting that real genuine experience. So if the core is good enough for FPGA, or in the case of the CPS3 or the CPS2 multi, it's all about getting the original game code, and you can do that with the CPS2. You can run encrypted ROMs on the original hardware, and at that point, the board's wedged inside of an arcade machine. I'm not sitting there looking at it and like, oh, I wish I could look at that Mars Matrix sticker that I really want. I'm just happy with the experience. I know the experience I'm getting on the cabinet is genuine, because it's an encrypted ROM running on original hardware. It's the same damn thing. So, but but I know there's people that don't want that. They like, well, I want every individual CPS2 game, and I'm gonna plug them. And that's your right. You should, if that's your thing. I mean, hell, I've got like the MVS collection behind me. I mean, I could just go buy a Neo SD and be done with it. But for the Neo Geo, that meant something to me, and that's what I chased down. So every situation and everybody's perspective on what they collect for and what they play is just so different. I mean, there's areas that we overlap on, and I think there's as arcade fans we agree on, but I mean, for some people it's like, hey, just give me the RPi-cade and I'll plug that in and go, cool, like that's fine. You should, if that satisfies the need and it's cheap, you should do that. Like I'm not judging that. Yeah, you're right, Paps. I've seen a lot of that lately too, where there's people who want to work on a particular system or a particular game, and they don't have the board, and then they have to figure out how to get that board, and it's either them buying it themselves, which doesn't always happen, and if it's something that the community is really interested in, then there's an ask for donations. And you're right, that board isn't necessarily coming out of that whole process alive. In some cases, there's a lot of poking, probing, lifting of chips and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, if you're sending in a board for somebody to go over, it's not always going to make it out. Big fan of using real controllers and arcade parts on my sticks. Yeah, I mean that's another. I always talk about that as far as arcade machines and stuff go. Having good parts, that's your gateway into the game is being able to use the controls. So you want to make sure that's a good experience. I would agree, regardless of whether or not it's an arcade control panel, the controller in your hand. I think that's why controllers are scrutinized so much. That is your key into the game. So you want to make sure that the D-pad is responsive. I mean, it's no surprise. It's stuff you hear talked about all the time. And if you're building an arcade stick, you want to put good Seimitsu, Sanwa parts on there. If you're more American style and you can go that route with whatever it is you're building, and you want to put ILs or even hap buttons on it, definitely go that route. Yeah, I mean, I'm reading the last comment that I can see here. The last time you played a Neo Geo game on official hardware was back in the mid to late '90s at an ice cream shop in Mexico. I love that. I'd actually be interested in knowing what kind of ice cream you were getting, or if you were just there for the Neo Geo. But yeah, you're fine playing it now on whatever you can play on. Yeah, and that's fine. Like, there's so many games and arcade games that I'll never be able to buy or pick up, and so I'm just gonna play them however I can. Like hell, there's a retro pie probably 10 feet from me, and if I feel like throwing on some type of game that I know I'm never gonna own, and just giving it a go, like I'll do that. You play however you gotta play. Yeah, and I think I'm reading Pap's comment about preservation. Yeah, and I definitely think that's become a popular topic too. There's a lot of I think for a while people talked about that with MAME and dumping ROMs and ROM sets, and you still see that today with different prototype carts that come out that people will find and want to dump, or they'll have to send it to somebody in order to dump the code off of it. It's something that a game that isn't in the main ROM set or FBA or I guess Final Burn Neo now. But yeah, FPGA is definitely about preservation as well as emulation to a degree. Yeah, that's good to hear. I often get that question, Enrique. I get that a lot. People ask me, you know, how do you feel about the Neo Geo core on the Mister compared to the real thing? And I've never played on a Mister. That's going to change eventually, but I've never played on a Mister to even be able to. I have no doubt that it's amazing based on what everybody says. Yeah, that's cool. Your friend has two arcades in SoCal. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, COVID has kind of shut that all down. One of my friends lives in Texas, and I know there. I think I talked about this before. He was saying there's been a big push to try to open arcades and stuff in Texas, and that's kind of been a dicey thing. With I mean, you think about what it is. I mean, it's not just like going out to the store. You're going to a place and putting your hands all over all over sticks and buttons that the previous person just had their hands all over. So that's been a bit of a tough thing. And I know the arcade operators that the few that are left want to open and want to earn revenue and not see their businesses close. It's a tough situation for everybody. Yeah, the PlayStation Classic. That's funny you bring that up. I actually really like that. I know it's funny because that classic got beat up a lot. I think out of the box, it's probably not great, but with a little USB add-on and auto bleem, it's pretty much my go-to PlayStation at this point. I don't love PlayStation as much as most people do. I think a lot of people that watch the channel probably know that. Um, I don't know. Once we started getting into the disc-based stuff, I don't know. Like I love Dreamcast, certain games here and there, but I don't have the nostalgia for those disc-based systems the way I do carts and that era. Um, so I'm probably never going to be the person that buys, an optical drive emulator for the PlayStation. I'm probably not going to ever get it HDMI mod. It doesn't mean that much to me. And so running Auto Bleem the few times, a month, if that I want to play a PlayStation game, the PlayStation Classic's been fine for me. Oh, frozen fruit pops. That's interesting. It sounds good, actually. It's making me think about what I'm gonna have for dessert when I end this live stream. Have I shared thoughts on Arcade One Up having online play? Um, yeah, I think that's great. As somebody who I think I, I, I get a hard time for having opinions on Arcade One Up. As much as I've given opinions on Arcade One Up, I do think that introducing that online play is really cool. I mean that's really what the arcade experience was. I mean, we are kind of talking about that earlier a little bit, where you go in and you don't know who might wander in or who might show up, and you could be playing, Street Fighter by yourself, and then somebody just slides right into that two-player slot and pops a quarter in. I like that. I think that's a very healthy addition to Arcade One Up's lineup. I don't know anything about how well it works. I haven't really watched any reviews or videos or heard complaints, pros or cons, honestly. So, I think it's cool in concept. I hope that it's working for everybody. Oh, net play. So I noticed a lot of that too. With the Samurai Showdown collection that recently came out, and I know some of the guys that I follow on Twitter worked on that, and I think that's really awesome. But I've never played any of the games on Steam or anything like that. I know Mark of the Wolves. I think they put out as well has a net play on Steam. I think I remember seeing that a couple months ago. I wondered what those experiences were like, if they were good, bad, regardless of what they are. I think it's cool that those guys are putting that together, and we have another way to play those games and give people some type of experience who, probably wouldn't have played Mark of the Wolves or had a way to play against a live opponent. Why'd you buy 2 of them, Paps? Why do you have 2 PlayStation Classics? I'm not judging. I'm just asking. Yeah, it's funny. I always, I'll get a little sentimental here. I love like the comments and seeing like what you guys are saying about the in-person experience, and you don't want to play online. I always know and am thankful for the people that watch this channel, and because everybody's like right in my wheelhouse. I know that it makes me happy because I feel like I've conveyed who I am fairly accurately in some cases, and what I like to do and the things that I value. I'm seeing, based on comments and stuff in the live chat here, as well as the comments on videos and stuff, that a lot of you guys feel the same way, and that makes me feel good. Not that we all have to think alike or have the same opinion, but I always like knowing that like I'm in the right group. Like these are the people that that I relate to, and seemingly, hopefully, you guys relate to some of the stuff that I talk about. All right, fair enough. It was $20, and you couldn't help yourself. I get it. Oh, you played MLP at Samurai Showdown, and it was bad. That's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. Yeah, that's cool. Like that is cool. Like if you could, because I have friends I think who would appreciate a PlayStation Classic if it was loaded up with games, particularly some of the games that I remember playing like in college. NHL '98 was huge. I know I did that hockey video. Some of you may have seen that, and I talked about that being a summertime tournament with all my high school friends. Like if I did that with the PlayStation Classics and I opened them and put that, because those guys aren't going to do it themselves. I know that. But if I did that for them and handed it off, I know they'd be appreciative and probably love that. Giving away pies gets expensive. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, I mean, Auto Bleem really changed what I thought of the PlayStation Classic. I mean, the original lineup, the gaming lineup it's not great. I mean, it's what? I don't know if you want to grade it, maybe a C plus, maybe. But yeah, throwing on everything that you want to put on there, and having it load, keeping the stock interface. I don't know. It's fine for me. I mean, I'm sure there's, again, it's funny because I'll talk about wanting the actual arcade. It's what's important to you and how important it is to you. PlayStation, not so much. I'm a casual when it comes to PlayStation. So the emulation experience is fine for me. I don't care. And you start switching into gears into other things like Neo Geo or CPS2, CPS3. Oh, I want the real thing. Like give me the real deal there. It's all about, your preferences and what's important to you. Yeah, I hope the Astro City Mini is awesome. I do. I really hope that that's awesome. I know that there were more games released for it on that list, and I looked at that and I was like, I don't know. I don't know how many have been. I really have kind of lost track as to what that roster looks like so far. Again, I remember what we said. There were 6 buttons. We didn't say there's 6 buttons on that Astro City Mini, and I don't know if any of those new games that were announced use those 6 buttons. I'm blanking on what they even were, which probably isn't a good sign. But yeah, I hope that system is awesome. Oh, that's interesting. You prefer the Light Up is saying he prefers the PlayStation Classic over running the discs in the PS3. I don't know if that's an experience standpoint or a lazy standpoint, but either way, I stand by both of those. I'm super. I mean, that's the beauty of. I was talking about the Darksoft Multi. Yeah, you get to play all the games, but I also don't have to switch boards out. Flashcards, I don't have to take the cartridge out. I don't have to go dig through a box or whatever to find whatever game I want to play. There's just a beauty about having everything at your fingertips. Yeah, does seem to be recycling a lot of things. Yeah, cleaner graphics. That's interesting. Yeah, I do like that about the PlayStation Classic. Just yeah, there's no I don't have to worry about modding. I don't have to put it through a scaler. I don't have to do anything with it. I just plug it in. And yeah, I'm sure there's lag. I'm sure it's not 100, but again, it's all what's important to you and how much you're willing to tolerate. Yeah, I hate a lot of the extra filters and stuff that are applied to that kind of thing. Save states, yeah, man, I'd agree. As a adult gamer for some of that stuff, it's almost a must to have. Yeah, I mean, even for Neo Geo, there's times when it's like I want to start something, but I don't want to get too into it because I know I'm gonna have to like turn it off or whatever, and so to like go through like all of I don't know, like say like Arrow Fighters 2 or whatever, and it's like, well, I could probably get to the third mission, and then I'm gonna have to, like, and then I don't want to restart tomorrow. But that's save states are just so great for an adult gamer. There was a Super Metroid craze I went on. I think it was like the holidays, maybe it was January ish, and I I started Super Metroid and I was playing it on the analog Super NT, and I realized like, well, this is going to be excessive if I can't just save my progress wherever. Like I'm going to have to go find a save point, and oh god, like that lesson was learned probably about 2 hours into the game, and then I actually quit playing it on the Super NT and I switched over to the SNES Classic. I just did, just because it was just so much easier for me from a save state standpoint. Yeah, yeah. I mean, save states. You're right. So, I mean, from a kid aspect, is and that's kind of goes back to that whole Mike Matei tweet when he's saying if you're using save states to complete a game, and in no way did you beat the damn game, right? And a lot of people took offense to that. There is some truth to that, though. I mean, you didn't organically beat it. Especially if you were limited to a certain amount of lives and continues and whatever. I don't think anybody's trying to dictate how you play or how you enjoy something. Um, but I understand what the point he was trying to make with that was, that whole NES hard. You think about something like Ghosts and Goblins. I mentioned that in a tweet today, and Battletoads and those types of games. Like, yeah, I mean, if you've got unlimited tries at the turbo tunnel, you'll probably rip through it eventually, versus pulling your hair out, screaming, and rage quitting, for a couple weeks until you memorize the whole thing. So it's definitely a different experience. Oh yeah, there's for sure, the endurance aspect of playing through. Yeah, absolutely. And again, no one's going to stand around. You're not going to put that on your resume or anything, or tell anybody outside of this chat that you sat there and organically beat Battletoads. Like, nobody cares. But it's not the same, right? If you're using save states to just kind of go again and again and again, and but as an adult, I think we all agree that we appreciate that, right? And there's stuff that we probably don't get or wouldn't get to experience, now that, I mean, at least for me, time is just so tough to come by. And to play something like Super Metroid, it would take me forever. Like, if I didn't have save states, it would take me forever to beat that game. And now I get to experience it. I'm not pretending. I'm not telling people like I organically beat that game. I'm not wearing it as some badge of honor, but I get to experience it and enjoy it, and I think that's the beauty of it. The e-peen. It's funny. It's a good conversation. I mean, I understand what Mike was saying with his tweet about organically beating something. I do get it, but yeah, it's as an adult, it's a nice thing to have in 2020. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, using the save states to hurry up the load times. That actually was something I know. On that note, I don't know if Neo Sivera is still in the chat or not. That was a while ago that he was in. And I said I was going to do this for an hour and ended up, what are we at? An hour and a half already. Um, so that was something that was being used to the BIOS settings on the Hilo hack for the Arcade Stick Pro. I know people are saying it doesn't save. So the workaround was you go in, you start your game, you set it to USA, you turn the blood on for Metal Slug, whatever it is you want to do, and then you do a save state. And then the next time you come back, you just load that save state and it'll pull the BIOS settings. It was kind of a workaround. I don't know if more development's been done on that or not with some of the recent releases. I haven't really kept up. I've looked at his channel just to see kind of what he and some of the guys are working on with. I saw there's some Capcom games and stuff, but I know that was another perk of the save state. Yeah, yeah. I see what Brandon's saying about Mega Man X. Yeah, like definitely. Like it would be. I mean, depending on the game and what it is, like yeah, you played the hell out of it and you loved it. You loved the game. You got to experience the game because you had access to the save states. Right. I get it. That's exactly my point. Hey, Danny. So, it's interesting. So I see you're saying Black Panther just died. Um, Lily just, I think, I texted me that while I was in here in the chat, and I was trying not to go searching or I didn't want to be a downer, and I also didn't know if it was true, if it was one of those things that, um, you know, I didn't want to start googling and get off track here. But that's yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, now I am intrigued, and I am gonna Google here really quick. Yeah, that's crazy. I just can't even. Oh, that's terrible. I didn't even know if it says he had cancer. That's what you guys are saying too. Yeah, I had no idea he had. I didn't know if that was disclosed or not until now that he had cancer. That's man, that's brutal. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even seem like that long ago that those films came out. You figure he was filming probably a year, what, year and a half before they actually released. So, yeah, I don't know. That sucks. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what movies he had. I don't even know like what outside of the some of the DC movies that were just announced. I don't even know if I really know what all's on deck? I know there hasn't been a whole lot filming recently. Yeah, Enrique, you're right. As far as the prices and stuff go, there's definitely been a creep in pricing since everybody's been like, that kind of surprises me on one hand. Um, I guess on, looking at the positive, it's like people are at home or we're at home and we're doing, things, in their house and looking for, like switches sold out and all that kind of stuff. But there also seem to be like, especially in like April ish, there seem to be like a lot of people who were out of work. And, we have a lot of contractors where I work, and, some of the stuff we were doing and the projects we were working on, we couldn't do. And the contractors are the first to go. So those guys weren't getting paid. So it's interesting, like how prices went up because I don't know. I guess I kind of thought it might have been a wash. I don't, with people, some people like having additional income from, stimulus checks or whatever. But then there's people who got those stimulus checks who desperately needed them in order to, pay bills and stay afloat. I don't know. I was shocked to see stuff go up as much as it did in some cases. And yeah, the new Bill and Ted did just come out. I'm probably gonna check that out too if I get a chance this weekend. Yeah, Paps, you're right. Like that's kind of what I was joking when I was responding to her about pulling some carts here and there, and I that's probably what I would do. I don't think I would sell the thing as a whole, and that would be my concern. I think, like, again, not to be dark, but like if I passed away or something, and Lily was left to deal with all this, like she would definitely need some help. Like I wouldn't want her to just be like, oh, $1,000, just sell the whole thing. I don't think she would do that, but you're kind of in the same park as I am with. I think there would be temptation to just get rid of it all. I think that happens from time to time, with other people that, sell off collections, and you just like, I just want to get rid of all of it. And I think you definitely would not get as significant of a return moving it as a whole as you would if you sold it cart by cart. And you could probably whittle it down to, the final, I don't know, 60, 75, more common cartridges and stuff. And at that point, maybe you unload those as a lot, but definitely like you're thinking about like Ganryu, Samurai Showdown 5 Special, things like that, you probably want to unload at top dollar and then work your way down until you get to, your Fatal Fury or your King of Fighters game that, there's much more circulation of copies. Yeah, I hope I'm not checking out anytime soon. The way everybody's talking here tonight, we lost Black Panther, and everybody's talking about me selling my MVS collection. I feel like I got to go eat a whole bowl of ice cream or something here and make myself feel better after this chat. Danny, yeah, we're not going to talk about it anymore, Danny. I promise. We're not. The MVS collection staying. I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. What kind of comics do you have, Kawika? I have I've got a pretty decent, not a lot, but I've got a couple long boxes of 90s comics. I read a lot of Flash at the time. I have almost a full Wally West collection for the Flash. Read a lot of Green Lantern. What else do I got in there? Justice League. I'm a big DC fan. Yeah, I'm reading back up through to PAPS. Yeah, a lot of government money going out to people that didn't really need it. Yeah, yeah, I know. That is interesting, and I know it was income based and stuff and whatever. But um, I can also tell you from people that I know, not me, but people that I know that ended up getting those checks or getting significantly more money from those stimulus checks because not all their income is reported. So they still ended up getting like the full amount because they're underreporting on their taxes each year. Again, that is not me, and I'm not saying that tongue in cheek. It is not me, but I do know of people that have told me that they have done that. Yeah, Marvel trading cards. We were just talking about baseball cards too, not too long ago, and how they're not even really worth the paper they're printed on. I collected a lot of hockey cards too back in the day, and those two. I mean, aside from a few rookie cards or special things here and there, those things just really aren't worth anything. Oh, Jim Lee. Yeah, I'm a big Jim Lee fan. I the hat that I have, the I think the Green Lantern hat, the stencil on the back is a Jim Lee Green Lantern drawing. Yeah, baseball cards are a mess. Like I have like a lot of like 89 upper deck cards, baseball and hockey. It's just I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Like I feel like I don't want to just throw it out, but at the same time, there's a nostalgia trip to be had going back through the books and my boxes, and I like looking at it from time to time, but it's not worth anything. It's just and I think about the money like as a kid that I was blowing on that stuff. Back then, like your allowance or whatever money you had from like cutting the lawn or raking leaves and that kind of stuff, and then you go and blow it on nonsense like baseball cards and 3DOs. Oh man, that's a statement, Kawika. Hockey was never the same after the strike. You're right. 2004, man, I could go another hour talking about this. You just pushed a button. I say this, I mean, if Lily's still in the chat, she'll vouch. I get I get so worked up over hockey as it exists today because I grew up playing hockey, and I had season tickets to the local AHL team, which is the Hershey Bears. So I went to a lot of games, a lot of AHL games. And you think about the AHL back in the day, those were all guys trying to make the NHL and trying to prove themselves. It was fights like no, I mean it was like it's like barroom brawls some nights, and I'm not saying that all of that is necessary, but it's been sanitized to a point where I mean, it sounds dramatic, but the game is sometimes unrecognizable, and the things that are penalties now, um, I think, slow the game down. The whole crease behind the goaltender, I hate that. I know that's the Marty Brodeur rule. It's just if you have a great puck handling goaltender, great. Like like I feel like a lot of that stuff has been capped in favor of trying to produce more scoring, which was the intent to make it more exciting. I was defenseman in high school and even roller hockey for college. We didn't have an ice hockey team, but I was a defenseman. And I often say now, like, I don't even know what I did and the stuff I used to do and how I used to play. It would be relearning the game all over again. It's just so different. What's my favorite Neo Geo Flash cart? I don't have either, so I can't really. I really shouldn't speak to either of them. I know the Darksoft one had some issues out of the gate. It sounds like he corrected a lot of that stuff as he went along, and from what I've seen in forums and stuff, it seems like people who have that and have stuck it out are okay with it now. But I would probably buy the Neo SD if I was in the market. I've been waiting on the MVS Pro for a while, and I don't know what Terra Onion. I remember at one point they said spring or something they were getting parts, and I think that was last spring. So I don't know what happened to that. I do have a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card, the '89 Upper Deck one, and I've got another terrible story about that. I actually had two of them, and I got one like out of a pack, like a one of the packs, the wax packs or whatever that you would open up as a kid, and I had a address book for autographs, and I fucking mailed Ken Griffey Jr. his rookie card to get an autograph on one of the ones that I had, and of course I never got it back. So there's that. Thanks, Ken Griffey Jr. Oh, Age Boomer says Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 was announced. How about that? Yeah, and I know that Nintendo Direct was that this week. Like all the indie stuff. I think people seem pretty disappointed in that. Yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. did steal his card. I'm still pissed about that. I've never let that go. There was there's some guys that were like really good about sending autographs and stuff back in the day. I actually got Bo Jackson actually sent his card back and had signed it for me. And my mom felt bad, I remember, because of the Ken Griffey Jr. incident, and you're never getting that card back, and she knew that. And I had sent Bo Jackson a card as well to get autographed. And for my birthday, she bought me an autographed Bo Jackson card and gave it to me because she felt bad because she figured I was out that card too. And days before my birthday, I actually got the Bo Jackson card back in the mail signed. And my mom was like, well, you got two of them. But Nolan Ryan sent his card back autographed. I got a couple others too. They're escaping me. But I remember Oral Hershiser. I got his. I mean, I was a big Dodgers fan because of the '88 World Series. But yeah, I think Kirk Gibson, I got his. And then the Phillies and the Orioles are somewhat local to me, and I got a few autographs just in person of various Phillies. Von Hayes for Light Up X, Pabst, and anybody else from Pennsylvania remembers Von Hayes. Randy Reddy. I could throw out some old school names. Yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. probably is marking that out. I don't know what he's doing these days. I did see a question that I wanted to answer. Somebody had... What was that? Oh, Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey. Yeah, I actually, it's funny you bring that up because I saw somebody had a 4-player Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey cabinet, and I was really in awe of that, and I thought it was great. It's a tough machine to find. It's expensive when you do find it. This person I think it was like $1,200, which is really good for that machine for a 4-player and what it was, and it was in good shape. I don't like Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey as much as I like Open Ice from Midway, and I didn't buy it. Obviously, there would have been a video on that if I had bought that. But it's a fun game. Like I'll play it on N64 from time to time just to kind of remind myself why I don't like it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I just don't like it as much as Open Ice. I think Open Ice is a better game and more in the vein of NBA Jam. I think Atari is the actual publisher for Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey, although I think Midway helped them out a bit with some of the coding of the game. I forget. I heard a story about that. I don't remember the deal that went on with that, but it's kind of a pseudo successor to Open Ice, but I don't think it's as good. Oh, what's the best old school baseball video game? It depends how old school you want to go. I played a lot of MLB 99 on PlayStation in college, so I played a lot of that. And I'll tell you, for me, I mean, obviously there's Baseball Stars 2 for Neo Geo, which I'm always going to go back to. But on NES, I played the hell out of Baseball Simulator 1000. No real teams, real players, anything like that. There's a little bit of, I don't want to say it's an RPG element, but you get those, you get like a bank of points to start a game, and then there's like specialty power ups you can use for your team, and it depletes every time you use one of those. But there's like broken bat shards that come off. There's the ball will drop and it'll be like a bomb. I don't know if you guys have ever played it. There's a version for Super Nintendo too, but I had the NES version. And I played the hell out of that. Yeah, NHL '94 on Sega CD. I mean, it's like undisputed. That's like the best version. If nothing else, I think it's the best NHL game. Like meaning EA Sports NHL. Mutant League Hockey is awesome too. Yeah. Bases Loaded. That's another good one. Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball. Even though he didn't send my card back, I know everybody loves that on Super Nintendo. That's a good one. Baseball Star 2. Yeah, I mean it is really good. I don't think I ever played Base Wars, Brandon. I might have to look that up on the EverDrive tonight. I don't think I ever played that. Did I ever get an Omega? So I had an Omega. I think I did one or two videos about that. I had some problems with the video output, which is kind of interesting now because there's an add-on board for the Omega that enhances. I think it only gives you component video, and I think it also eliminates the S video and composite out once you install it, but I think it definitely cleans up the component video, and that's what I had a problem with on my Omega. It's probably not a terrible way to go since JNX isn't making consoles anymore. If you picked up an Omega and then that add-on board to enhance the component output. Hardball, I forgot about that. Yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. Yeah, baseball on SNES. It is a really, really good game. I mean, I was just always partial to Baseball Simulator 1. Nobody's played that? No, I didn't see anybody comment that they even knew what that was. Maybe nobody likes it. I don't know why. I was really partial to that. I'm trying to see what, other than Baseball Stars, I'm trying to see. I thought I had, I think, is it Tony La Russa Baseball on Genesis? I thought I had that. Maybe I did like a while ago. I don't think I see the case back there anymore. The Neo Geo Pocket. I've got, well, hang on. Like, this is no rules. I'm just going to do whatever I want. So I'm going to get up. All right. So, I've got a handful of games for Neo Geo Pocket. Most of these are boxed. This is SVC Chaos. I've got King of Fighters. What else is here? Metal Slug 2. Samurai Showdown. Bust a Move. Pac-Man. Metal Slug. Baseball Stars on Pocket. Neo Turf Masters. And First Contact. So, yeah, I was just very impulsive. They were just sitting right there, so I grabbed them. That's the That's my pocket collection. Yeah, I would like to see. I would like to see a. I know the screen mod has been out for the Neo Geo Pocket. That gives you like because obviously the screen on the current Pocket, it's not great from a backlight perspective. You can't see anything. But the new screen replacement that is backlit, it's a little bit smaller, and that screen on the Pocket is already pretty tiny. So I just never swapped it out. I was kind of waiting to see if somebody was going to put out, and by that I mean China, put out an actual backlight that was full size, but I have yet to see it. I watched a video on best baseball games NES, and the host said Baseball Simulator 3000 was the best of the bunch. See? I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, definitely. It's fun. Like it's not realistic by any stretch. It's and if you're into like real players and teams, you're probably not going to like it, but it is what it is. Thanks, Forever Winter. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, Metal Slug Pocket, the first one has it's definitely gone up in price. Yeah, Analog Pocket. You're right, Paps. If you're getting into well, if you can get an Analog Pocket at this point, but yeah, if you want to play the games, I'm sure you can probably just there's probably a hacked core for it that you load everything up from the SD card or whatever. I'm sure that probably is a thing. I don't have a pre. Kurt's asking. I don't have a pre-order for the Analog Pocket. No. Thanks, Kuika. Good seeing you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Full head of hair in my 30s. Captain Retro, first of all, thank you for joining the chat. And thank you for streaming live pinball and all of the repair and arcade videos that you do, Captain Retro. Always love your social media posts as well as your channel. So definitely check out Captain Retro if you haven't. And now I'll address your statement. What's it like to have a full head of hair in your 30s? I'm in my 40s, and I have a full head of hair, and I don't think the camera picks it up too well. There's not too much gray. Not yet, anyways. Do I feel more powerful? Yes, I do. I definitely am looking down on you. Um, it's actually hard to even see you through all this sometimes, just because it's in my eyes. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I wish I wasn't. I am. So I'm. It's funny. It's funny, Kat. I'm a year younger than you. I will say, like I think I get it from my dad. Like my dad's got pretty good genes. Like he looks pretty. He's my dad just turned 70, and he looks. I mean, for a 70-year-old guy, he looks pretty good. I'd like to tell you that I eat healthy, I exercise every day. I'd like to tell you all that kind of stuff, but Lily's probably watching, and she would just call me out. I don't eat all that healthy, and you know, I just. I don't drink a lot. I will say that. I know that's not like me sitting on a high horse or anything. I just don't. So I don't consume a lot of calories. I don't think from alcohol or anything like that. Wow, 74 vid gamer, $20 donation. Man, that is huge. I really appreciate that, man. I really that's really humbling, and for somebody that was going to stream for an hour tonight and isn't even streaming games, That's a huge donation. I really appreciate that. And again, all of the donations, everything that comes in here goes straight to the Mr. JAMA Fund. I'm looking to pick that up and do some coverage of that for the channel. So 74 Vid Gamer, thank you. That's and I'm really humbled by that. Thanks, man. Gorilla Jones stepping in with the 50s. I'm in my 50s and have a full head of hair. Thanks, man. 74. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Yeah, yeah, that's the other thing. I actually did exercise pretty regularly, like daily. I was big into Taekwondo for a while, and then when I hit my 30s, early 30s, I stopped. I mean, I was doing it every night. I was in really good shape. I was never a big guy as far as like muscle mass or anything like that. I was always really thin and toned. I had that look going. But then I just kind of, I don't know. Again, if Lily's watching, she'll totally call me out. There's a rower in the basement that I use once a month. Should definitely be doing that more, especially given that my dad has like heart issues. I should definitely be doing more than I am. Yeah, that little guy is like farting a yellow cloud, and I'm fine with that. I like it. 50 push-ups a night. I mean, that's more push-ups than I do. I can tell you that. So I'll give you that. Yeah, it's funny. You're talking about losing weight. Man, we've talked about death on this chat tonight. Talked about selling my MVS collection, and now we're talking about losing weight. Talk about welcome to Scarlet Sprites, everybody, where fun knows no bounds. Yeah, I need to lose weight too. There's definitely I've working from home the last 5 months and having snacks readily available in the closet, like 30 feet down the hall from like where I work out of my office. It's not good. Potato chip. I gotta just stop buying shit. Like that's the thing. I just gotta stop buying nonsense. Age Boomer's asking, did I hear about the limited edition Battletoads? I did see that. I think, who was that? Was that Voltar that posted? Because I thought, I get it. And I saw there was some snappy responses to that. And people like, well, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Well, of course. Like, I hate that response when people say that. Of course I'm not going to buy it. But you're still allowed to voice frustration and like the oddity of reselling something like that for $100. I think the argument is you could go out to eBay or whatever and you can probably buy a used original copy for the same price. But again, on this fine evening of delightful topics, we did discuss that everybody is different. Everybody has different wants and needs. And so maybe somebody likes that new polished look of a new cart and feels better buying that. I don't care what you buy. I do find it odd that it's $100. It seems excessive to me, but if that's your bag, you should get it. Yeah, Captain Retro, you're talking about moving all your stuff. Lily says I don't exercise. I'm like, I just moved the Capcom Big Blue. I had Daytona on its side and had to pick it up by myself. Like, what are you talking about? I don't exercise. Do you know what I just did? Oh, light up. 199. You're down from 120. Are you down 127 pounds, or are you saying you were 120? I can't imagine you were 127 pounds and went to 199. Yeah, you went from 257 to 179. That's impressive. Like that's real impressive. But yeah, like same thing. Like being at home during quarantine, like yeah, and what was I talking about? What was I just talking about? I said when I'm done this stream, I'm gonna go downstairs and eat a bunch of like ice cream, which I shouldn't be doing. Like I've been watching High Score on Netflix. I've been watching that series. I just get like a bowl of ice cream and I put the Hershey's dark chocolate syrup on top of it. I don't need to be doing that. Like I shouldn't be doing that. What are my thoughts on the newly announced additional Sega Astro City mini titles? It's funny you bring that up. We just mentioned that maybe 20 minutes, half hour ago. I don't even really remember what those games were, and maybe that's my own ignorance. But I saw the list and nothing popped out at me like, oh wow, that's awesome! I can't believe that that's coming to Sega Astro City Mini. I kind of partially felt that way about the initial list, but I honestly don't even remember what they were. And I don't know that that's a good sign or just a sign of my ignorance or both. Yeah, exactly. Lily has no idea what moving a big blue is like. I actually have been thinking about putting that on casters just to like ones that you can lock so that I can roll it and then, if I don't want it moving, obviously when you're playing it, you just lock them. I don't know. I don't know, Kevin, if you do that or not. If you've ever put casters on your machines, some of them come with casters. Like Daytona came with casters by default. Virtua Racing had casters on it, but I ended up they're usually so old and so shot, the wheels on them and everything else, that I end up just replacing them. But a lot of machines I have don't have casters on them, and I've been thinking about just kind of putting them on their side and as a weekend project, adding wheels to them. Yeah, we were talking about Black Panther here a little bit earlier. Like I said, it's been nothing but delight and joyous discussion tonight about weight gain, losing hair, death, and selling off our collection. So, welcome to Scarlet Sprites, everybody. No, I've never played Sando R. Sorry, I've never played that. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about when Destiny FOMO was in earlier. She was asking about if I would ever consider selling my MVS collection, and I kind of talked about like the burden being placed on Lily or whoever it would have to sell that if one or both of us passed away. Again, I don't not looking to go back down, not looking to go back down that path tonight. The a Vuelix cab, I don't know actually. Hit or miss. I think there's always KC out in California. If you're on the arcade projects forums, he has a thread in the I think it's the whole games or full games area on the forums. It's KC Arcade if you go in there, and he posts inventory. The thing with his inventory is that it's you get what you get. It's very hit or miss. There's various conditions of the cabs. Sometimes local forum members and people will volunteer to go scout and then like tell him like or they'll FaceTime you. And I've seen people offer to do that, which is obviously really nice and having each other's backs. And then you have a better idea of what it is you're getting because somebody works as a proxy for you. That's local to California, obviously. But yeah, I you could try him. There's the game room guys out in Utah. I don't know what their inventory looks like. They their prices have gone up considerably, and I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying prices have gone up a lot on candy cabs, but that might be somewhere else you could try looking there. If you're hoping to pick it up local, I don't know where you are, but having it shipped was really the only option for me for the Astro and the Blast being on the East Coast. Oh, thanks, Mark. Thanks for buying that Strikers. Age Boomer. Oh, thanks for the donation, man. That's really awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Again, $5 into the Mister JAMA project. Do I own any rare Sega CD games? I'm looking over my shoulder here. I don't know that I have anything that's terribly rare. I mean, I guess the Lunar series. I guess would you consider that like if you're thinking what's the shooter? It's escaping my mind. I think that's probably what you're thinking of. Something like that. That's pretty high end. I don't know that I have anything. I don't have anything like that. That's really. I have a lot of mainstream games. Most of those are from when I was a kid, and a kid in high school. That is, and it's just the mainstream stuff that I want to play, like Silpede, NHL 94 is back there, Mortal Kombat. I think they're NBA Jam, Cliffhanger, Sonic, Afterburners there, Night Trap, Rise of the Dragon. I actually really like that, but mostly it's mainstream stuff. Snatcher, yeah, man, Snatcher's a great one. Do I consider myself the Larry King of game chat? Maybe. I don't know. Like, I hope I'm not that old yet. I could pull the microphone like more out in front and just sit it here. It is amazing. MC Murr, who was in here earlier, I did make that comment to him. Um, kind of, I'm gonna kind of like out myself here. I was kind of poking, not kind of. I was making fun of somebody that was like basically saying like they're gonna go stream this game. I'm like, holy Christ! Like, how many times has that game been streamed? Like, how many times do we need to see that? Like, and I can't remember if it was Animal Crossing or what it was. And I was just like, do people really like that guy's like we've streamed that like, and that person has streamed that game like 50 times. Like, what is the deal? And I was like, then as I was ranting about that, sort of not, it was just more of a comment, not really a rant. I was like, I don't even stream games anymore. Like, I just get on and talk to the people I like to talk to. So who am I to say like what you can and can't stream? And I'm not saying you can't, obviously. I just thought it was funny that we're watching Streets of Rage 4 be streamed for the umpteenth time. It's like, I don't know. Like, I guess that's cool. It's just not. I don't know. I tried it initially when I started doing the live streams, and I actually didn't really like it. I'd rather just like look and see like people like Pabst and Captain Retro. Delusionals Arcade is in here. MC Murr was in. Obviously, Light Up was like the first one in the door today. Destiny FOMO Beast was in. Like, I like all these people. Like, I don't want to play games. I want to talk to people. Like, this is what I want to. This is about me and what I'm getting out of live streaming. I don't care what people want to see and see me stream, but I just want to talk to people. What type of CRTs do I recommend for arcade cabinets? Ones that you can get cheaply if you can find them. No, it is. I mean, usually like the Toshiba tubes are pretty decent. If you're looking at chassis, I mean, you're really gonna have to find something that's matched up, because I think that's always a pain in the ass when I hate that. Like, and I won't buy a cabinet. Captain Retro will tell you differently because I know he does this, but I won't buy a cabinet if it's missing the tube. I just am not going to hunt down a tube and then a chassis to go with it and match. Or sometimes even the yoke is missing, and then you got to match that. There's like 3 parts you're trying to like sync up, and getting a tube shipped is always a pain in the ass too. And so for me, finding it locally is always, I just won't deal with it. So my recommendation would be if you can find a cabinet that has a tube and everything matched up already with the tube, the yoke, and the monitor chassis, and buy that and transplant it, that might be the way to go. I don't know. Obviously the K7000, I think that's what's in the Big Blue, the Capcom Big Blue I have. It's beautiful. It's a good looking monitor. I think that's also the K7000 is also what is in the Neo Geo that I have, the big red. And then there is a Nanao in the Astro City, which is a 27-inch monitor. It's touted as a 29-inch Japanese. It's 27-inch for American standards. It's it's gorgeous. So I would say what you can find cheaply that works is usually good. I know it's a bullshit answer, but yeah. MVS carts. Let's talk about MVS. What do you want to know about MVS carts? Oh, you got Metal Slug 3. Um, it didn't work. Oh, you cleaned the pins on it, I'm guessing. There you go. 19-inch tubes at Delusionals Arcade. He's got them. There's actually a guy on Clav. We were talking about that earlier. He's in Ohio, and he has. It's killing me because he has tubes for. I think they were like $40. He just wanted $40 to unload them, and they were tubes that fit Daytona USA. There's and I think that those tubes are a match for, I'm drawing a blank on it, on the Nanal chassis that's in Daytona, and it's not a commonly used thing. But my Daytona has the tube is burned on the first one. Not terribly, like when the game's up, like you don't really notice it when you're playing, but for $40, you're damn right I would swap that out. So sometimes you get lucky if you're out in the Ohio area, or you're just following stuff on forums and you see people post stuff like that. You got to grab it. Yeah, the K7000 is awesome. It's a great monitor. You're right. It's easy to cap. And yeah, tube swaps are a little bit more friendly on certain things like that. Oh, the diehard you got. Yeah, I saw there was a diehard for 350 at that warehouse, coin op warehouse in Hagerstown. I think he had that posted, but it didn't boot, and I couldn't tell. It's always a thing. Like he won't do a whole lot of plugging in or troubleshooting, and that's why stuff sells so cheap there. But I just didn't want to take a chance on that at 350, not knowing what was actually. He said it didn't turn on. That could mean a number of things, as a lot of you guys in the chat well know. So yeah, the K7000. It's just such a good monitor. Like it just everything just crisp on it. It's got that remote board which makes adjustments and everything pretty easy. Oh God. The tube you had was dead and had graffiti carved in the face of it. That's brutal. There was I was kind of mad this past week. There was a Chuck E. Cheese that went out of business, somewhat locally, about 45 minutes from me, and they had an auction up for all the stuff. Nothing good, like arcade wise. Like there wasn't anything there that was really of any interest. A lot of redemption stuff that I wasn't interested in at all. But there were some cool like artwork pieces that they had, like Chuck E. Cheese, like branded like murals and whatnot. And somebody had like broken into the Chuck E. Cheese and spray painted everything. So I think some of the stuff was behind glass. So if you cut new glass, it would probably be okay. But some of that stuff I thought was really cool, but I just didn't really feel like dealing with it. And even with the graffiti and the spray paint on a lot of the posters and the stuff that they had, I even had some of the mannequins and the animatronics stuff. And somebody like spray painted, just, all that shit was just like spray painted. Yeah, the artwork still sold for like $200-300, even with the spray paint. And I'm assuming that some of that stuff was just covered in glass, like I said. But yeah, I thought that would have been really cool. There's booths for sale too with tables. I was kind of thinking like, that'd be kind of cool to have like a genuine like Chuck E. Cheese booth down in the basement. But I didn't ultimately did not do that. Consequently, my friend who's in who got that Stadium Cross machine in that one video that I posted, he was bidding on stuff and was interested in some of the kitchen stuff they had. He runs a diner, and he like the sink. They had like an industrial sink, and he's like, that sells for like $800 new if you're gonna install that. So he was bidding on some of the things. Lost everything, lost out on getting anything from Chuck E. Cheese except the trash can. He won the trash can for like $2, and I was like, dude, just give them 10 and tell them to throw that out. Like nobody wants that. Like he was just buying that like as an additional thing, but I think he's gonna drive to Lancaster and pick up his $2 trash can. Oh, King of the Monsters 2 MVS. I would definitely say King of Monsters 2 is better than the first King of Monsters. I played the first one just about 4 or 5 months ago, just because it had been such a long time. And I'll be honest, I struggled to get through it, not from a standpoint of like, oh, I suck at this game, but just how repetitive it felt. But King of Monsters 2 is definitely a step in the right direction. I would say just stick with that one. Don't go backwards. Yeah, the animatronics preserving the smell of greasy pizza. I actually wondered that about the booths when I was looking at those. I was like, I wonder how much those things smell. And my friend was saying that most of those sold for like $1 or $2 for those, like the big, you know, I guess people probably just don't want to haul them out. They're probably heavy. I don't know what kind of shape they were in, but um, yeah, he said he got like an email after he won the trash can with like instructions for like pickup and all this kind of stuff. And they were saying like if you won a booth, you could show up and just whatever was there, take your pick. So I mean, I guess first come first serve, but again, I did not do that. Yeah, King of Monsters. It's like it was a good. You're right. It was a good idea. The second one's definitely better, but yeah, it leaves a little bit to be desired. Oh, I do like the Aero Fighters games. I actually think I probably like the this number two. I think is probably my favorite between the two of those, and that might just be because that's the first one I played, and that actually is a game that I played in the arcade, and I remember playing that on the Neo Geo. So I don't think I ever really played three until later. So the second one's probably just by default my go-to. Do I plan on playing the new King of Fighters game in 2021? Probably. I think I've discussed this before too, and as shameful as it is to talk about, I'm not a huge fighting game fan. Like I like the Samurai Showdown series. I like King of Fighters. At their core, I like those games. But if I'm going to like play a fighter, I almost always find myself going back to Capcom and playing a Capcom game, be it Darkstalkers, one of the Versus games, or of course Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3 as well. I don't know. I'm just so again, it's what I played first, and I didn't really play the King of Fighters series until '98 came out, and then I was a PlayStation go to. That was one of the games I played on PlayStation, and there's a guy downstairs that played it a lot. But I wasn't like a big King of Fighters person. Samurai Showdown I had for 3DO, and that's how I got my fix at home. But yeah, I've always been from an arcade standpoint, and even now, probably more of a Capcom guy. Like don't kind of whisper that, but yeah, I don't know. Just I'm just not a big fighting game fan in general. I shouldn't say that. I really do like playing fighting games. I'm not very good at them. I'll never play them like really competitively. figuring out combos and all that kind of stuff. Everything I know, it's from reading. It's not stuff that I've discovered on my own because I never put the time into it or anything like that to really discover, with the exception of maybe being Street Fighter 2, of course. Oh, the STV games. Yeah, that's a video that's in the works, just talking about the STV board. And actually, Captain Retro, who's in the chat right now, I know he has that as well. He just picked that up with his Die Hard arcade. But yeah, the STV is great. It's a board and a system that I'm really unfamiliar with until I started with the multi here and going through the games. I really only knew Die Hard, and I know Virtua Fighter Remix was out for that, and those are the only two like games I think I played as an American on an American cab. That black plastic molded thing, which seemed ugly at the time, but at this point I actually have a lot of nostalgia for that, and I think it's kind of cool. Where everything else was wood, that kind of had its own feel to it. So yeah, I do like the STV. I like what I've found on that. Obviously Silver Gun, and a few others. There's a puzzle game the name's escaping me. Somebody recommended that I try. I booted that up, and I'm not like a big puzzle guy. I think I've disclosed a lot. I'm not a big SNK fighting fan. I don't play a lot of puzzle games, and I've talking some smack on real-time not really. I just was saying real-time strategy and point and click games really, I mean, outside of some of like the Lucas Art stuff, I didn't play a lot of point and click stuff either. I'm very much a ADHD, put something in front of me and like let's push a lot of buttons, and that has always been kind of like my thing. But yeah, I actually that puzzle game's escaping me. But yeah, I actually did enjoy that as well. Neo Geo Battle Coliseum. I actually do. I sort of have that. I have the net boot capability on the Naomi that's hooked up to the Blast City, so I can play Neo Geo Battle Coliseum via the net boot. I can load that because it'll load a Thomas Wave games. I don't know. Like as far as fighting games go, I will default to Capcom games most times. That doesn't mean I don't play Samurai Showdown or King of Fighters 98. I actually do like it's funny, I do like 2003, which I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people like 2002, but I like 2003. I got a poster for it. I don't think you guys can see it. Would I like a new Metal Slug if they did it with the graphic style, the new Samurai Showdown? I'm not. I'm not opposed to that. I mean, I've kind of accepted that that's where we are from a gaming standpoint. That hand drawn graphics and stuff like that, as great as it was, as beautiful as that stuff was, that it's just not. It's not cost effective at this point. So I'm open for a new Metal Slug game, no matter what style graphics, as long as the gameplay is good. That's what I care most about. I know a lot of people are down on that whole 3D graphics style, the cell phone graphics, if you will. That's what people seem to refer to it as. If the gameplay is good and it's a nod to the original and it feels good and it's fun to play, like bring it on. Like I'm really hopeful that they do put that out. Yeah. Oh, Vampire Savior on Saturn. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one for sure. Again, I've never really owned a Saturn, so um, it's funny. Like it's any of the games that are on Saturn that are coming over from the arcade, yeah, I've emulated or have had to find other ways to play. Yeah, I see that argument a lot too about SNK and the different games being technically better from a mechanic standpoint and at their core, which I'm certainly not going to argue with. Yeah, and shock troopers. I wouldn't mind seeing a third one of those either. Yeah, Mark of the Wolves. It's funny you bring that up. I will find myself, maybe that's part of my problem. I find myself admiring the graphics in like King of Fighters or Samurai Showdown, Capcom. Like I'm staring at like the art style and how the animation, and I'm more intrigued by how that was made and the different frames and the drawing and that whole concept than I am almost in the game itself. And so like Mark of the Wolves for sure is, I mean, it's a gorgeous Neo Geo game, maybe one of the best on the system from an art and graphics standpoint. And I get sucked into that pretty easily. It's funny because I'll play that because I want to see it as more. And I know it's a great game, and I do appreciate that element of it as well. But I'll definitely just play it and fire it up and pick different characters, look at the backgrounds, and admire like what's going on, subtleties that are happening, little animations here and there, and I really appreciate it for that. Maybe more so than actually playing, but I know that obviously it's a great game as well. So, yeah, it looks like going on 2.5 hours here. I always say that. I always say that I'm going to stream for an hour and then just be done. I didn't even know if I was going to get on tonight. I had like a massive headache after work and shook it off enough. I'm like, I can go for an hour. And here it is, 2.5 hours later. I haven't had my ice cream. Have you ever considered selling all your consoles, arcades? I mean, I think I go through things every now and then. It's not something that I talk about too much, not because I'm hiding it, but I'll go through and unload things. The Switch, I got rid of that. At some point, probably pick up another console at some point, but there's some TurboGrafx games, some PC Engine games that I've been looking at maybe unloading that I just don't play. Stuff that's hanging out here that I haven't touched in a long time. Stuff that I've beaten, that I've gone through, that I'm wondering like, why do I still have that? I've played through it. I liked it. Got my my fix, and now I don't really need it anymore. I'm looking at like I've got the Holy Diver set that I picked up a while back from Castlevania Games, and it's a cool game. I mean, I can play it on the flash card if I need to. I don't know, like that might be something that goes. As far as arcade boards, I talked about the CPS2, the extra X-Men versus Street Fighter that I have. I don't know, maybe that goes at some point. So every now and then I'll go through, do a sweep of things. I unloaded a bunch of Switch games this year that I've either played and beaten, or games that I know I'm never going to go back to, and got rid of those. I looked at like GameCube seems to be hot, and there's GameCube games that I have that I know that I don't really have a use for. So I'll probably go back through and do that. As far as the actual arcade machines go, that's probably a little different because I'm probably not buying arcade machines that I'm looking to flip or unload. I'm just kind of doing it more for myself, picking up something that I know I want, like that Virtua Fighter. Like I love that game. It has a special, place in my heart from the era that it came out and what it meant and the transition from 2D to 3D. I'm holding on to that. I picked it up because I wanted it. Same with like Daytona and Virtua Racing. Like those mean something. The Neo Geo. So never say never, but I'm pretty conservative with what I'm getting from an arcade standpoint in the stuff like Capcom Big Blue. I don't want to necessarily unload that. If something happened and, who knows, life comes at you fast, right? And if you have to unload, or I got to sell my house and move or whatever, maybe some of that stuff goes, but it's not something I'm planning on doing. I start thinking about consoles, like hardware. I probably wouldn't unload in general. I just probably wouldn't like sell consoles. Now that I have them, it's kind of, again, it's that whole access to whatever that system's library is, and then to go back, and especially some of the stuff I got modded, like the top loader NES that has the high def NES kit in it. Like, I'm not going to sell that. Like, that's, that would probably be the last thing to go. But carts for NES that I have, complete in box carts, like at some point, maybe I do look at unloading those. The Blue Marlin, like, I don't know, like, there's a fun game. I played a lot of that when I was younger, but what do I need that for? Why is that just sitting in a box in my closet? I don't know what that's worth. But then that becomes the other question. What is it? What are you really getting out of that? Is it worth it to unload it? If something's only worth like $15 or whatever, $20, I don't know. Like, you sell that on eBay, you pay to ship it. eBay takes their cut, if you don't sell it on a forum. I don't know. It has to be worth it to unload it too for me. I'm not just going to start unloading things that I'm making like $10 off of, at least not right now. I do have a garage that I can work. I have a 2-car garage, but we have 2 cars in the garage. I'm fortunate, or unfortunate, however you want to look at it. Right now, the entire basement of this place that I'm in is unfinished. So it's a concrete floor, and it's there's just basically it's there's no drywall or anything like that up. It's not carpeted. So I'm fortunate in that aspect, because like I could pull, when I worked on virtual racing, I worked on it in the basement, concrete floor. I've got a ground level door that comes into that, so I can load things in and out. So that kind of serves as my garage. Talking with one of my friends as far as like finishing the basement, and he was like pretty adamant, like, you should really consider leaving part of the floor. You should look at, keeping part of the floor open so that you can bring new things in and work on them if you need to, and not worry about ruining whatever it is that, you're carpeting or whatever flooring you put down, or the walls. So that's kind of my workspace right now. My goal, I think, would be, at this point, I've got the Virtual Cop 2 that I'm still trying to figure out, like, what I'm going to do with. I originally bought it to put House of the Dead in and get that up and running, which I still very may well do. Daytona, obviously, that is 100% a certainty. I'm going to finish that off, put that back together. New T-molding, I got to fix the side art, and I got to get the second car up and running. All that space in the basement right now, I have room to work, and Lily would attest to, I've got shit all over the floor right now. But that's short term. So what I want to do is finish off all of those machines, the ones that I want for certain to have in the basement to work on, not to work on, but to have done and be a permanent fixture. And once Daytona's done, Capcom Big Blue is like 99% finished. I'm trying to finish. This weekend, actually, I'm going to cut a new bezel for that, and then that'll be done. Daytona, I have everything I need except the monitor for the second cars being worked on. Once that's done, I'll be able to put that all back together. I have new T-molding, and I'll finish that off. I put the new shifter in car 1 and car 2 now. So the goal really is, all this to say, finish off the games I want as permanent fixtures while the basement is unfinished. And then once that's done, hopefully maybe next year, maybe a year and a half from now, everything's done, cleaned up. Then I'll look at having the basement done, finished. And at that point, I'll have to make a decision. Do I leave part of it I know the one section I'll leave unfinished just for storage purposes, and maybe that'll be where I work on games in that area. I've got shelves off to the side, and in the middle of that area, I can probably still work on a game. Probably want double doors on that storage area so I can get things in and out easily. So it's a long-winded answer. No, I mean, yes, I have a garage. No, it's not where I work on the games. Yeah, Blue Marlin's about $40 complete. I don't know. Like, is that worth? Maybe that's worth it at some point to sell. Hey, Neo Genesis, favorite Neo YouTuber. Yeah, there's not many of. I found that niche kind of almost by happenstance. I didn't even know. I pretty much, getting into YouTube thinking like all I saw was people doing like Nintendo stuff and Super Nintendo and Genesis stuff. It never even like occurred to me that people might be interested in Neo Geo. It seemed like such a more of a niche console, but then as it turned out, it's like, well, that's actually your gateway into actually having a decent YouTube channel. Talk about something that maybe is less covered, and then it's kind of a, your gateway drug into the arcade world, and it allows me to talk about that kind of stuff too. So yeah, it kind of worked out. Moisture in the basement. So I have a dehumidifier that runs down there. I dump it twice a day. For the most part, stays around 37, 38%. It's usually under 40, even like in the summer here in August. Like the dehumidifier does a pretty good job keeping things, clean from a moisture standpoint. I've only been in the house here for about a year and a half now. I've never seen the basement flood. I do have sump pumps I have two in opposing corners down there that drain. So it's been pretty dry. I don't have a ton of fear about water and flooding down there. And again, the door in the back of the basement is at ground level. So the house is on a spring, which does concern me. Actually, if anything, it's the grass outside that gets a little soggy from time to time. I got to work on, that's another project, getting French drains put in and draining the water and running it away from the house. But the basement, for the most part, seems pretty prime for, getting it finished and keeping it clean. Yeah, I'm sure 60% humidity in the Houston area. I'm sure that's probably a reality. See ya, Paps. Thanks for stopping by, man. Captain Retro, there's not a lot of people doing live streaming of pinball and pinball repair. And it is it is a crime when I see the setup that you have, multiple cameras running and streaming live pinball for people and machines that I know people haven't seen or haven't seen in the wild or played. You do a pretty damn good job of bringing that home to the masses and talking about the different things. Delusional's arcade, similar with a lot of the arcade coverage and the repair and stuff that I know you're working on over there. It's a hard thing, I think. I don't know why that. It's almost, I think for me, having the Neo Geo somewhat, it's like that gateway thing where people know it's a console. The AES existed, and I can kind of bridge that gap a little bit and pull in the console crowd and then extrapolate over and stretch a little bit over into the arcade world. Having that bridge, I think, helped for me. I don't stream, obviously. I mean, I made fun of myself here tonight talking about all I'm doing is on here just talking about arcade stuff and getting old and fat and losing hair. But I think that helped me a little bit with my audience, just cutting the teeth on the Neo Geo first and pulling in that group of people and then bridging out to the arcade world. But yeah, Delusional and Captain Retro, you guys both do a hell of a job bringing the real arcade stuff to the masses. And I know it's frustrated you, Kevin, from time to time with not getting the viewership that I think you would deserve with something like that, and what you're bringing to people. I don't know what to tell you, what you could do better from a streaming standpoint from your setup, because it's pretty impressive and there's a lot of niche things there that interest me. It's just finding a way, I think, to bridge those worlds, you know, and getting stuff that's not getting a mainstream audience to watch something that isn't necessarily mainstream. That's a tough ask. And I think I've gotten lucky at times. I mean, I'm not even that big of a channel, really. I've got like a little over 8,000 subs at this point, and it's tough sometimes. I mean, that CPS2 battery video I put out today, like that's pretty niche. Like I actually, when I was done with that, I was like watching it last night, and I'm like, is it mainstream enough? Like, is it techie enough to walk that line where I did some soldering, I can show that, and people that are a little bit more beyond the novice will find interest in it without getting too technical, that the mainstream audience or the casual viewer will still be interested. Oh, a battery will kill that, if you know what I mean. Like, it's walking that line and then not making the video too long, that it's, you know, beyond 10 minutes, because I know I'm not going to hold somebody's attention on something like that for longer than 10 minutes. It's such a hard line to walk and to figure out how to do that, so that you're having this mass appeal of techies, intermediates, beginners. That's really the game, is figuring out how to do something like that. And yeah, it's not easy. I don't have a main machine. Delusional, I saw you ask that. I don't have anything that runs MAME. Oh, the Let's Plays with Lily. Yeah, I keep wanting to get her to do another one of those. I have to work on that this weekend. Yeah, this is still going on. I'm gonna have to take a. I definitely gonna have to stop here, because I'm gonna need to do something else and get my ice cream before bread. Yeah, I know, man. It's frustrating breaking that algorithm, getting it in. You know, I was talking even, you know, I think that was November-ish when ETA Prime gave me a little shout out on his channel and talked about Neo Geo. He's talking about the Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro and fitting a new stick into that. And I thought that was amazing. Like, he reached out to me and asked if he could show footage and mention me on his channel. I'm like, hell yeah, mention me. Even that, having that call out, it didn't do that much for me. Now, I'm appreciative on a personal level and thankful that he did that, and I think that's awesome. And I wish more people would do stuff like bigger YouTubers would do that. But it just didn't help me all that much, just to be frank. Like, I didn't see like this massive spike in subs and stuff. I don't know that there's a big crossover or carryover when stuff like that happens. It's you're on your own a lot, and I found that out the hard way with that. I've had other shout outs on other channels from time to time before too, and it's all about what you're producing, how frequently you're producing it, and can you mainstream it and hold an audience. That's pretty much it. Yeah, put up stuff you like, and if it doesn't do well, oh well. Yeah, that's kind of been my attitude too lately. If I'm not having fun making it and it's not something I'm interested in, then the video sucks and it's not that great anyway. So I'm pretty much only doing things that I'm interested in, because I know, and I'm pretty well aware that this isn't a career for me. This isn't something that I'm making, you know, a ton of money off of or anything like that. I'm doing it because I like it. I like talking to you people. I like seeing the names roll in, people that watch the channel who have the same interests. It's a community. It's an extension of social media, really. And that's why I do it. So if I'm not doing it and having fun doing it, I'm not gonna make a video on stuff like that. Fall Guys is fun as hell. Get it on PS4. That's funny. I don't have a PS4, but yeah, I don't know. I see everybody talking about Fall Guy. The only thing when I saw Fall Guy, I was like, oh man, that was like a great 80s show, wasn't it? Like I remember that. And then it's like, oh, that's not what people are talking about. They're talking about a game. See ya, Eric. Good night. Yeah, I like making videos about the stuff that I'm interested in too. That's yeah. If you're not having fun doing it, it's I don't know. It's a tough thing to make a career out of. It seems at this point. Yeah, I agree. Delusional's comment too about mid-roll ads and all that kind of stuff. The hard thing about that, about the mid-roll ads, is if you can figure out, like, if your video is long enough and you can throw an extra ad in there, like that helps you out because YouTube's like, oh, people watch this channel and we can make more money off of showing it because this person's doing more ads. So it becomes that conundrum then. Balancing how much will people tolerate? Do I want to inundate people with ads versus, well, I do want people to see my content. I want them to be able to watch it. And so having additional ads in here, I know YouTube's going to promote it more. So it's like walking that line then too of how much people will tolerate versus how many people I can get to watch and the ads. It's not a money thing for me. It's a, what does YouTube going to do to promote the video based on those ads, and will that increase the number of people that see it? Because ultimately, like, I want people watching. I want to find more people that are interested in this stuff. So that's another balancing act you got to do. Yeah, I could have Lily try the Sega Genesis Mini. That might be something. That might be the next thing for her to experience. That might be a good one. Um, Game Room Solutions. No, I actually don't know anything about Game Room Solutions. I haven't seen any of their work. I'll have to look that up. See ya, Captain Retro. Yeah, I'm gonna have to sign off here soon too, man. We're pushing 3 hours. This is crazy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. This is I have a full-time job as well, and this is a splinter of the hobby that I enjoy. It's fun, it's cool, and yeah, that's why I do it as well. And obviously to talk, part of that's talking to all you guys. So, well, I think I am going to wrap up here. It's closing in on 3 hours. I'm probably pushing my limits on on holding people's attention and talking here tonight on a Friday night. I do appreciate everybody tuning in and watching. Again, all the people that come into the channel, to comment on the videos, come into the live chat. I love seeing all the familiar names. And then fellow YouTubers also stopping by. Delusionals Arcade, Captain Retro, MC Murr was in here. We had Beast. We had Destiny FOMO stop by. She's been great. I mean, really talking about people who try to help support and pull along smaller channels. Destiny has been there and done that a lot. I know I'm wearing the Uplink shirt here right now. And a lot of people don't know and wouldn't know this, and she doesn't talk about it, but she was instrumental behind the scenes in getting more exposure to smaller YouTubers who are doing good stuff, and pulling them along and saying like, hey, yeah, I'll be a part of this, but here's some other people that you should really have as part of this as your virtual con and be thinking about. She doesn't get enough credit for stuff like that, and she definitely supports other channels, so definitely wanted to call her out for that. Gorilla, yeah, later, man. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for everybody. Make sure you're exercising and combing your hair if you have it. Don't anybody be gaining unnecessary weight, and we don't want anybody passing away and having to sell off their collections. Again, all the happy, positive things that we've discussed here this evening. So thanks for stopping by, everybody. Have a great weekend. Everybody that donated to the cause here tonight, I greatly appreciate that. Going back to the Mr. JAMA Fund. So I appreciate everybody who took time to do that as well. Thanks. Hope you guys all have a great weekend. Take care and stay safe.